Hey fellas, it's been a while since I posted a video. One of the reasons is that I went on a little vacation to the Bahamas. And my wife wanted me to wear my Bahamas shirt that she bought me. Said, oh, you can wear this for your next video. So it's kind of dorky. But I told her I'd wear it for her, so I'm wearing it. It just happens to be under my sweatshirt. Anyway, I have started on this last week. I got to working on. I got back into the States last Thursday night, so it's been about a week, and I'm losing my tan. But anyway, it's nice and cold here in Illinois. It's like 15 degrees. But I'm working on the Lockheed P38 with a 1/32 scale from Trumpeter, and I'm building this actually for a guy, and I'm not starting to take commission builds yet, but I've been talking to one of the guys that I build planes for, and he said he had this plane to build, and I wanted to build it, so I told him go ahead and send it. So I'm building it for him, and he wants it built as the Wicked Woman. There's a nice naked lady on there. So that's what I'm going to do, and it's typical Trumpeter. There is a little bit of flash on it. I assume it's an older kit. But it's typical Trumpeter in that some of the parts don't fit exactly great. I mean, there's no major issues so far. But, it's definitely not a Tamiya kit. And you guys probably get sick of hearing me say that, but it isn't. But anyway, let me show you what I'm working on. And at the end of the video, I'm going to add a couple other things that I've been working on. I built the Trumpeter 1/350th scale USS Saratoga in honor of my grandfather who served in the U.S. Coast Guard. I did that before I went on vacation. And I've also been working on putting some handles on knives with like G10 and micarta. And I kind of wanted to show you that. So something a little extra on this video. But it's mainly about the P38. I'm not going to do a whole lot of build videos on this. This may actually be the only one, but I am going to kind of go in depth on how I paint it, since it's going to be a natural metal finish, which a lot of people have troubles with, and something that I've experimented a little bit with. So let's take a look at what I've done. Okay, so let's kind of show you what I've got done so far, and I'm about halfway through. Unlike a lot of planes, they don't have you start off with the cockpit. They have you start off with the tail booms and the engine area. And so I've got 2 of those done. And the fit wasn't bad. As you can see, I've repaired my seam lines. The guy that I'm building this for, he wants it in flight. So I closed up the landing gear bays, and it wasn't too big of an issue. On both of these, I did have to add some plastic card in the top because it didn't fit exactly right. But overall, it wasn't too bad. Where I did run into some issue, and Trumpeter does this a lot with their kits, is they give you a lot of detailed engine parts, but then you don't show them. I don't get it. And this clear part here, I think, is supposed to be a mirror. So what I'm going to do after I paint it is I'll put some bare metal foil on there to emulate the mirror. I got some high polished chrome type stuff. But as you can see here, you don't really see an engine. And the reason that I did that is because when I put this together, and when I got it in there, I just couldn't get it to fit exactly right to where the propellers would stick on here flush. So what I've done is I filled this area in with putty. You're not going to see it anyway. And I added magnets, a magnet to here and a magnet to the propeller. And so I can just get it on there and it'll fit flush. Otherwise, it was going to be cockeyed. It was going to be off a little bit. And rather than cut away a bunch of crap and do a bunch of fiddling, I figured this would be the best way. And I've never done it this way before, but I actually kind of like it. Not the simplest thing to do, but to be honest with you, in my opinion, it was a better solution than trying to do it any other way. So I've got those done. One thing with the propellers and the spinners is that there's a seam line. Now, this is going to be painted, I believe, I'll have to look again, but I believe it's going to be black and white with a white stripe right along here, and it's going to be black. And normally what I like to do is paint the propellers and the spinner separate, because I paint the propellers like a NATO black. But with that seam line, I decided to go ahead and put these together and take care of that seam line. So I'm just going to have to tape them off and do a little bit more masking than what I normally would. Injection pin marks, there really aren't too bad on this kit. The most notable ones are the seats, and I've taken care of those. Let's see, the cockpit. Now, since this is going to be in flight, instead of building a cradle, this is a little bit smaller than the P61 build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole right here where the front landing gear bay would have been. It'll probably be back here, maybe at a slight angle, so it'll be angled up just a little bit. Then I'm going to put it on a smaller base. So I'm just going to have one acrylic rod, and it's going to go through there. Now, in order to do that, and I've learned this the hard way, is when you insert a piece of acrylic rod and drill a hole that's going to carry the weight of the plane, sometimes it has a tendency to crack and rip apart this thin plastic. So what I've done is I've taken Milliput and I've filled the entire front landing gear bay with Milliput. So that's going to give me a nice sturdy area in which to drill, and that my acrylic rod will go in. That way it's going to be nice and sturdy, and I'm not going to have, this isn't going to crack on me and break apart at any seam. So I've got that taken care of. The cockpit, I've got it inside the bottom fuselage and glued down. And the reason I did that is because it is actually on top of and part of this landing gear bay. And I wanted to get that in there so I could fill it up, make sure I didn't have any problems. And also because once you put the cockpit together with all the little fragile bits, trying to get that seated in there, you're going to end up breaking something. So I went ahead and did this first. This way I can paint it, nothing's going to break on me, and then I can put the other pieces in, and this is going to give me enough area where I can get in there and hand paint some stuff. So that is that. What else? Yeah, it's one of those planes that kind of goes together unusually. It's just kind of it's kind of different. One of the other things is they give you these like metal. See if you find them. These little metal pins, and they have you put these on the all the rudders and tail fins and everything else, and the ailerons and flaps. That's how they attach to the plane, and it makes it kind of difficult because you got to glue this down, put the flaps and tail fins and everything else in there when you glue it. Normally what I like to do is glue everything down, and then I'll come back and put the flaps and fins and everything else on. But yeah, you have to do it all at the same time on this particular plane. I think the wings are going to be the same way. So that makes it kind of challenging, but I'll get it done and get to deal with more photo etch. Yay. But anyway, that's where I'm at, and this will probably be the only build part of the video that I'll do. I think the rest seems pretty simple, but like I said before, I'll do a full video on how I paint it, and it's going to be in a natural metal finish and kind of a weathered, not nearly like the one that I did with the MiG-17, but it's going to be a little bit weathered, but it's going to be an in-service type of paint job. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. Now I'm going to show you kind of what I've been working on before I went on vacation, and a few things I've been working on since. So here is a build that I did just before I left on vacation, and it was in honor of my grandfather, Virgil King. He served in the U.S. Coast Guard from 1942 to 45, and according to my dad, and he did a little bit of research, he said my grandpa didn't really talk too much about what he did in service, but He did mention being at some point on the USS Saratoga. We don't have any records that show that, but we do know that he went to Pearl Harbor right after he enlisted. And so my dad bought me this kit, and he bought this for me for Christmas, and I ended up building it. And I don't do too many ship builds, but I kind of enjoyed this one. Other than all the little bitty planes, they were kind of a pain in the butt. But there's a picture of my grandpa. I'm going to get that framed and put it next to it in my display case. But yeah, it's a fun little build. They don't include any railings, and I didn't really want to mess with the photo etch. But I thought it turned out pretty well. And then I made the base. I typically make my bases, and then just cut out some metallic vinyl. Kind of looks like it actually turned out really well. I cut out some metallic vinyl on the Cricut and added that, and I think it looks pretty cool. So that's kind of in honor of my grandpappy. All right, and for those that aren't interested only in models, then what I've got to show next, you might want to just go ahead and turn off the video. Stop the video now. So you might be wondering, why are you looking at a bunch of knives? Well, I've always been a knife guy. I've loved knives since I was a kid, and since I've been modeling, I thought, you know, why don't I had a couple knives where I didn't like the handles, so what I did is I got on eBay, and picked up some G10 and some micarta, and I thought I'd try my hand at making some knife handles. So the first one I tried is this Freeman, I think it's a Freeman 450, and the handles on it, they were really uncomfortable. They were really big. So what I did is I just went and bought some jade colored G10, and I ended up making, this is the first one I did, making some knife handles. And I think this one turned out really well. I'm not perfect, but for a first try, I thought it turned out pretty good. And I got it contoured, and it feels a lot better than the handle that came with it. And this was all done with a bandsaw, and I've got like a 1x30 belt grinder and some sanding drums that I put on my drill press, and a little bit of sandpaper, and it turned out really well. So the next step was trying my hand at a custom knife. I didn't build this knife. A guy by the name of, I think Jim Smith built it. I don't know if you can see his name engraved in there. But he's a well-renowned a custom knife maker that specializes in folders. But years ago, he wanted I had a knife website, and he was on there, and he actually wanted a buck survival knife that I had on there, and offered to make me a knife in trade, and I said, okay. So I sent him a design for a knife that I had, which is this, and he ended up making it for me, and we traded. Well, I didn't like the handles on it, and so I thought, well, maybe I can throw some jade G10 on that as well. And I also ended up taking my like a grinder to this, and kind of grinding this out and making a choil. The blade actually came out to here and came at an angle, so I ended up just making a finger choil, and I think it turned out really well. I'm very pleased with it. I also ended up getting some of these cheap, they're Elk Ridge knives. You can get them for like 17 bucks. And I bought these. My daughter's kind of into like survival shows and stuff. And I thought maybe I can get her a knife and me a knife. They're pretty cheap, 17 bucks, that's nothing. And I got some handle material because they come with these cheap plastic handles. So what I did is I just experimented with these and put like a white G10 on here. I also added some jimping along the top for mine. And, you know, it's a fairly decent knife for how inexpensive it is. The steel's not that great. It's some kind of Chinese stainless, but it's actually a decent knife. And I've done a little bit of work with it. And, you know, with these new handles on there, it actually turned out really well, and I like it. And then I ended up making this one last night. My daughter wanted purple handle, So I ordered some purple G10 and made that up for her last night, and she wanted this yellow paracord on there. And yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to. So that's about it for this video. Appreciate you sticking around, and I will update you on the P38 build when I get ready to paint. Talk to you later.